Okay, Mike and Tracy, let's bring them in.
We good?
Wow.
Hey,
You give
How's
two
it going?
monkeys a bell, and then what happens? Listen to them. Oh, okay. That is more in character. Ian went and found Janky a bell because he was jealous that Scott had a bell, and now there's like dueling bells, and it's.
I should have a bell here.
This is all for your guys' benefit. Okay. For those people who don't know who you are, can you guys introduce yourselves and tell us where online we can find you?
Sure. So we're Magitarius. My name's Mike. This is Tracy, my wife.
Hello, Tracy.
Yeah, we have a website, Magitarius.com, and we put stuff on Instagram under Magitarius.
I'm Trace One Art.
She's got her own profile, Trace One Art, as well. So, and then there's Starventure of the Ninth Order, but Magitarius, well, you can find most of our stuff there.
Nice. I've started asking everyone to introduce themselves and talk about their social media in the front of interviews instead of the end, because I find when I watch an interview, I hate to like have to watch for an hour and get to the end to figure out where to look these people up. I want to look them up like while I'm listening to them talk about stuff.
Yeah,
So,
that makes total sense. That way they can see what you do and or whoever.
Exactly. Right. So before, we want to talk about action figures a lot because that's sort of what we do, but I kind of want to hear each of your origin stories, how you started out in art, what inspired you, and then how you guys met, and then how you became Magitarius.
Wow.
So tell me everything. You can lie down on the couch. I only charge $200 an hour.
Gotcha. Okay. So we've both been doing art for a long time, probably 30 plus years, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell where you're coming from. This light is bothering me. I'm gonna pull this blind closed and see if that helps a little bit.
Totally fine. All right, Tracy, go.
Oh, so where do you want me to start?
I don't know. When did you know that you were an artist?
Wow. I knew like at a very young age. My mother actually, I remember this one story she told me. I drew from Jim Henson,
Mm-hmm.
The Muppets. I drew Miss Piggy off of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
She said I would draw Miss Piggy, and I was like 5 years old, and well, she was my first introduction to drawing. And
did your parents encourage? Was art encouraged in the home?
Yeah, my mother. She was my first introductory. I'm gonna get teary-eyed.
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah.
Now you're making me cry.
We're all getting
everyone's crying in the room now. I'm not fucking with you. I'm serious. All right. So you're saying about your mom and that she was the one that introduced you to art?
Yes.
Was she an artist also?
Yes, I can say she's a teacher.
Uh-huh.
But she didn't go into the public school system. That's what she always wanted to do. But she was my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And she did crocheting and knitting. But
so creativity and being creative was always present in the home.
Yes.
Yeah. And then and then at what age were you when you like figured out that, like, because there's sort of people sort of figure out at some point like they're an artist. Like, when did that come about?
A very young age. I mean, I always did it. I mean, I stuck with it. My art teacher in high school, She was the one that took me to, drove me literally to School of Visual Arts, but that was not the one in New York. It was actually a branch from New York in Savannah. That's where I met Mike in School of Visual Arts in Savannah. It was a charter school. I was like the charter class. Mike was the second branch.
Yeah, the second year that they had it. I went, and the year after that, they actually closed that school down. And so I'm not sure if the one in New York is still open. After that, before that school closed, after that second year, I came back to North Carolina and she came with me. And so we've been together ever since. And it's been.
How old were you guys?
45. So we've been together about 27 years.
Wow. And how old were you guys when you met?
Mike was 18. I'm older than Mike. So
yeah.
And you're not going to talk about that. She's like, he was 18 and I'm older. That's it. So
yeah.
And so, Mike, what was your childhood like with art?
I mean, I always kind of drew and made stuff. Like I would get dirt and make like the clay, because we live in North Carolina. So like you can go to the creek and dig up clay. They have like the gray clay and you can make stuff from it. I did that. I drew stuff. I used to make little skateboards. When Garbage Pail Kids, when they first came out, we used to hustle them, me and my brother. And like we would go to Rose's and buy the big box of like multiple packs and then sell them. And then we ended up making our own. And I think my mom has a couple of those left. I don't have any.
Whoa, hold on. You ended up making your own Garbage Pail Kids? Yeah. And your mom has some of these?
Yeah, I believe she has a couple of them.
Can I have her number? I would love to see those.
Really?
That sounds magical. Yes. All right. So you always had a creative background. You both went to art school. How does that transform into toys? Like how did toys become like a medium for you of expression?
So Tracy's always doing like drawings and paintings and not so much the sculpting. That's more like my end of it. And I mean, not to say that she won't do anything in the future. I'm just saying for the most part, like I sculpt all our stuff. But I was big into puppets, which is funny because I hated puppets when I was real little, but then just kind of, it was, I've always collected toys, and there's only been a couple of years, like in early teenager, where I wasn't as interested, but then it just picked right back up. And it started with making dolls. I say dolls because they were like, hang on, I'll show you. This is like a racket.
Wow.
What the fuck, dude? That's insane.
Wow.
What is that made out of? Can you hold that up again?
Yeah. It's
When did you make that? When did you make that?
This is
oh my goodness, half of it was below the frame. Like you couldn't.
Yeah. It's big. It's like 3 feet tall.
Oh
It's made out of like boxes and cardboard and paper mache and air clay on top of that. And but this, I was making a lot of stuff kind of like that, like these dolls. I'm just gonna call them dolls because they didn't move. And it was, I had a lot of toys, and there was a lot of toys that I wanted that I couldn't afford or couldn't find. So I just made my own. And
what age are we talking about? When did you make that?
I would say 20.
Wow. So you started like sculpting like from dirt near the creek. And then by age 20, you're making 3 foot tall sculptures that are out of found objects, cardboard and stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the ones I was making before this, actually, they had fabric. So I was making like clothing for them, and then it just kind of, they didn't move. They're all stagnant, and that was the thing I liked about toys, was they moved. And so the puppets was like a natural progression from these doll figures to puppets, because then they would I could make them move, but I'm not, I'm not a performer actor. You see how I'm doing on this thing, and
You're doing just fine.
right. And so it's like I like the behind the scenes stuff, so I
Sure.
could make the puppets, but and I could perform them if it was like, on a TV show or behind the scenes, somewhere you're not like focused on me, you're focused on puppets. But I tried to get into some stuff. I actually got accepted into a place in Taiwan to go and apprentice, but we had a young family, and it's like just to up and move and go there, that wasn't going to work out. So I tried to get a job at the preacher shop with Jim Henson's, and they're like highly specialized, and unless you're a glass eyeball maker or some, you have some very special skill, they weren't really hiring. And so I did puppets for a long time, and then it just kind of it turned into toys. I finally figured out I found out about resin casting and how to do some of that. And I guess before that, I ended up going back to school for sculpting, and I took ceramics. And so I was doing a lot of slip casting and, metal work, like welding and that kind of thing, and pouring metal and doing sculpts that way. And I finally, just kind of came across like being able to make resin figures. And before that, information wasn't really, available like that. I mean, here in Winston, there's no one really that I could talk to as far as, hey, how do you do this? How do you make this? Because nobody really knew. And like with puppetry, some of that stuff was like really like highly guarded secrets, trade secrets, and that kind of thing. Nobody wanted to share. People who were like willing to, yeah, exactly.
So how did the two of you decide to become Magitarius? Like, how does that come to pass?
Okay, so after making the resin toys, and I really wanted to do vinyl toys because they're more durable and yeah, I know. But so that's what I wanted to do, and so the way to do that was for us to make a company and try to hustle our stuff and make some money, and hopefully move up to doing like vinyl toys. I still like making resin toys. I keep looking over here because there's a table with some examples on it.
Feel free to grab some. We like show and tell here.
Okay, so what do you want to see? Like a vinyl toy or a resin
yeah, sure.
toy?
Whatever you want. Let's start with. Well, were you making vinyl first?
No.
Because when I first met you, you were working on vinyl toys. You had made resin toys before that?
Yes. And the first vinyl toy I did was actually a total nightmare, and it was with this company in China, and it was supposed to be all vinyl, and they couldn't. I guess they couldn't figure out how to do it properly. Like they were learning themselves, and so they did the tentacles out of resin, and the top part was vinyl.
Right. I remember those.
Yeah, but the tentacles were fragile. It's a cool toy, but the tentacle parts are fragile. So when they shipped them, like half of them snapped off, and that was the problem. So when I make some now, like if I paint some and send them, I'll take the tentacles out and individually wrap them up.
Wow. Yeah, it's probably because the factory was set up to make like rubber ducks or something. And then you came by and said, like, I need this thing that looks like this with the things, and and then they're like, yeah, we could do that. And then
right, and they saw
it didn't work out too well.
Making money, so they probably wanted to get into it, but it was just not. It wasn't really good all around because like the translation was bad. I didn't have a middle person, but at the same time, I had no into that world, and so it wasn't until we went to California for the first time, I would say like 6 years ago, something like that, when we were able to find somebody, to hook us up with a manufacturer to help us.
Do you have that? Do you have that toy handy you can show?
That was fun.
Yeah. Hey, Yeah, let me grab one. You can talk to Tracy about.
So Tracy, what's it like, being partners, like creative partners, and being in a relationship?
It's awesome with Mike. I love it.
Yeah.
Best thing that's ever happened to me.
Wow.
Saved my life.
That's
Having
amazing.
my sons, best things ever happened to me.
Wow.
Hands down. Having
That's,
a family saved my life.
and so is there ever any like creative friction? Like
Oh yeah, competition.
competition? Ooh, now we're getting the dirt. Okay. So you guys are there's sort of like, who's got the competitive streak?
It'll depend.
Wow.
I would say both, because sometimes like each project is different, and so who's doing the heavy lifting of that particular project varies, because sometimes Tracy will have an idea, she'll pass it to me, and I'll start. Yeah.
I'm gonna show y'all something.
So when you talk about heavy lifting, is that articulated? Is that a decision that you guys make ahead of time, or does it just sort of happen organically?
It happens organically, but I know that I'm going to be doing all the sculpting. I know that Tracy does like some of the illustration work and painting, but as far as like photographing it, putting the stuff on the computer, like for card art, putting all that together, setting up accounts and all that kind of stuff. Like I do all of that kind of stuff, but I have, like the, I guess, emotional support. So that's one thing that, like, I guess husband and wife team, we can support each other. So if one person's doing this, then the other person's doing, the other part. But as far as like how much is, who did more for this or who did more for this project, it just varies on the project. I mean, I could pick apart each project and, say.
We don't need to go there.
Well, I was just gonna say, like here's the rayon figure.
There
Like,
it is. Look at that.
One that's the top part's vinyl and the bottom part's resin. This is a figure that I actually Tracy had it in her sketchbook, like an old picture of it, and I liked it, and I decided let's run with this. So I took it, redrew it, then sculpted it. Then she drew some more. Then I sculpted. I think I did like 2 versions, and then sent it off. Yeah.
And
like
Tracy, you were going to show us something?
Oh yes.
You got sidetracked by his competitiveness. She's like, as he's hogging the spotlight.
Yeah.
This is a card art shade. Can you see it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Mike did the art for it. Okay. He did the heart. You did the heavy lifting. Heavy lifting for it.
Right.
I did minor detail for it, the coloring. But you can see the technique, his style. This is his style.
But that's pretty rare, because you're doing most of the painting generally, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a whole set of your guys' paintings. I bought all of your originals for all of these guys here. Yeah. This was a fantastic series. So, well, I'm showing.
And then passed over.
Yes.
And then she painted.
Yes, that's my painting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
These are hanging in my home.
Very cool. Yes. Yes.
So tell me how. Okay. Well, what I'll say is that the first time, I guess you had called me about, Mike, you had called me about the vinyl figures and distribution. We had connected some point years earlier. And then I didn't realize, and I think this was on purpose, that once I saw, was that a show? It was like at a bowling alley with you and Figure Fetish, but you were using the Starvenger name.
Right. Yeah, it was.
And I didn't realize, I didn't make that connection at all. And all I saw was like who is this person who's now making resin toys? And it's like out the gate, you had something like 50 figures or 20 figures. It was insane. So people released like one toy, and then, a month later, 2 months later, they released second toy. And it was like, here's this person, never heard of them. And here's how many figures did you have in that show? Different figures.
Like 20 figures, something like that.
I mean, that was insane. And it was like, I didn't know, like as a collector, you kind of don't know where to start. Like, but all 20? I can't buy all 20. Well, I guess I want that one and that one. And it was like, and it wasn't until later that I realized, you had to explain to me, the Magitarius and the Starvenger connection, and that they were separate.
Right.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. So the Starvenger was a way. It's a branch of Magitarius, but it's kind of a way to isolate the more I'll just say like bootleg kind of figures, where I'll take somebody else's figure, like Star Wars figure, GI Joe figure, something like that, chop it up and kit bash it, and maybe sculpt my own stuff to mix with it, create a figure, and then we'll make the artwork for it. And it's more like that, whereas the Magitarius has more of the figure from scratch. Like we come up with the concept and sculpt it, mold it, cast it, get it made into a figure, like whether it's resin or vinyl figure. It has more of that feel. However, like some of these figures, some of the Magitarius figures are like this kit bash kind of type stuff, like the shade figure. Another one would be this Afro figure, and I can you see that okay?
Yeah.
I think part of that is like I want to do more with this series. It's just more. I think the Magitarius figures are more ours, or it feels like it's more ours, as opposed to the Starvenger, which is kind of an outlet for more kit bash type stuff, I'll say.
Okay, but there was a time that you were keeping it secret. Like you didn't want anyone who was buying your monsters to know that you were also I was under specific instructions when marketing some of your early exclusives that like, this was Starvenger, it's not Magitarius, do not mention Magitarius, secret, wall separating the two.
I tried doing it like that at first, and then realized that just wasn't going to work. And so, because there's too many crossovers, and I just couldn't separate them like that. So,
I mean, based on that experience, when I run into other artists who want to create separate brands, my advice to them is to not do that. Is to just have one brand, trying to get people to follow two different Instagrams, and trying to because you don't get any of the bleed over, right? Someone comes to you for one reason, or they come to you for another, and then there's they get to know your work, and then before you know it, they're buying the other stuff. Like if people buy work from artists that they like, so once they like you, it's like they want your shit.
Right. And so we did go to school for a little bit, but aside from that, I was only at the art school in Georgia for 3 months. And then I left. It wasn't until years later that I went back and actually got a degree. So all of the stuff that we're doing, it's all trial by fire. And we're just kind of learning it as we go. I mean, obviously the toy community is bigger, and we know more people now, and can talk to more people and bounce ideas off other people. But a lot of stuff that we're doing, we're just having to figure it out on our own. And promotion has been definitely a learning curve. That's the hardest thing, not the hardest, but definitely it's difficult.
I mean, I think that's true for all artists, right? Because
but especially if you're not we're still not a lot of people really know who we are. I mean, we have a small fan base, but outside of that, it's there's plenty of people that don't know who we are.
Sure.
But
the thing about virtually every artist that I know is they're all small business owners. I mean, it's basically what it boils down to. And
Right.
they're artists, but they're also in charge of their own promotion and their own finances, and they have to do their taxes, and they, it's like you have to know all of those things. I'm just trying to think if there's anyone that I know personally that gets to like just do the art and have other people take care of all their shit for them.
Yeah,
And
I
it
don't
just,
know anybody like that.
yeah, neither do I. Right. So what, and, in the past when I, have lectured to like art students, it's basically what I tell them. It's like, you're not going to sit up on top of a mountain and just paint and then have everyone take care of all your, it's like market and sell. And it's like, you have to have those skills. And unfortunately, I see some artists who are really good who might not be good at like interpersonal relationships and all that kind of stuff. And then like sales suffer as a result.
Yeah.
I was not talking about you.
No, I'm just saying, I personally feel like that all the time, like, working on stuff like because I never really know what they want. It's weird. Like we'll drop figures and like some figures that I really, really like, maybe those just, you post it and then it's crickets. And other stuff, maybe something that I kind of like halfway took a picture of, like, hey, I need to post something up. I'll do this. And that's something that everybody is like, oh, I love that piece. And it's just, sometimes it's really weird, and so it's like everything is a learning curve.
Scott Cherry is nodding his head like you just like reiterated his whole life story. But I'm going to tell you, like, even at a small business like we're running, putting out all of the stuff that's around us, it's the same thing. Like people say, is this going to sell? And I don't know. And people gravitate towards one thing, and then I love this other thing, and it doesn't sell at all. And it's just like, and sometimes things take time to catch on. And
that's true too. Yeah, some stuff has to be out there for a while, and then people discover it later on, and that's cool. That's why I'm glad that you asked about Magitarius, like why did it come about? I mean, another reason was this is the art form that allowed us to make stuff and actually be able to sell stuff and be able to satisfy all these goals at one time. Like we're able to make stuff. We make, because we have our own business, we make what we want to make. Like we'll do, some commission stuff and other projects like that, but more or less it's projects that we like. So, because we're
inspire. I hope we're inspiring. Not only, it's about also showing that love,
Sure.
And to inspire. And also for us too, it's that self-love, I mean, we got to show ourselves some love too. Right. It's not being selfish. It's about inspiring, but also showing ourselves some love.
I mean, that's, I think, one of the hardest things for artists, like, is like the amount of like self-loathing that a lot of artists have. Like, it's just, and, it's fortunate that you two have each other for support. Like most artists I know, like we're talking to Scott Wilkowski the other day, and it was just like the theme kept coming back to just him being in the basement by himself all the time. And as a kid being in the basement by himself all the time, just working. And so it's nice when you can have even, I'm sure the competition, if it exists between the two of you, is not a bad thing. Hopefully it's motivating.
Exactly. It's a good thing. So I mean, I know, like when I work with other artists who are, I feel like in a whole nother category, like they're master craftsmen at what they do. That just elevates me. Like that makes me work better. So I kind of feel like we do that to each other. We kind of we just work off of that. In a good way. Not a bad way.
So I have a funny story to tell you. It was when I was on Toy Geeks promoting this series, and I guess you hadn't told me that the Starvenger Magitarius line had been blurred, and so I showed the thing, and it said Starvenger, and then I didn't know about the back. So I read the back on air, and I said, be sure to check out all the Magitarius figures, including the complete Starvenger line at Magitarius.com. And I was like, holy shit, was I supposed to read that? And then Kwong was on the show also, and he's like, "Oh, we love Magitarius. That's awesome. They did that." And I'm like, "Yeah." That was
So
it was a fun moment.
yeah, and having the Starvengers, like I don't have a website for Starvengers, so in order to sell the figures, I have to do it through Magitarius because we're here definitely since the pandemic. Like we haven't really gone anywhere. Like all the shows, we just we still haven't gone back to any show like live shows. So
Sure.
I mean, everything is under Magitarius. But I realized a couple of years ago that in having our website, it's changed over the years from having different stuff. Like sometimes we'll have apparel on there and different types of artwork like paintings and things like that. And it seemed to just confuse people. So I tried to slim it down to make it just resin toys, vinyl toys. But you do that for a while, and if it's not enough, like you need to fill this creative gap, or like you're trying to make some money at doing it at the same time,
Sure.
we'll put other products on there, and sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. Like I think we did these hoodies, these overall hoodies, and they're awesome. But we haven't really sold a lot of them. Like people when they
Holy shit.
Holy crap.
So Tracy, that's your art there on the hoodie? Like,
Yeah, it's just
It's-
painted.
It's
oh my
actually,
goodness.
it's actually both of ours now. Hold on. I'll hold this up. See, hey Tracy.
Whoa.
Can you go this way?
He's like trying to organize this, like,
That's the whole piece right there. And it's actually pretty big.
look at that Cyclops up there. Wow. And then so they do like a dye sublimated print like all the way around on the hoodie?
Yeah. So what it is, we sent it off to a place and I had to chop it up into like 8 or 9 parts.
Right.
There's like there's the sleeve, and then there's the pocket, there's the front, the back, the hood. And it's weird. It's a weird process because you see one big piece, and you're like, oh, this is great. It's got all this stuff, but it doesn't necessarily translate well.
Sure. It's got a wrap, like,
Right.
wow.
And it's just to make a point here, as far as the competition. So it's not per se competition. I just want to clarify. So,
yeah.
So I drew this piece, like sketched it out, and I painted. Some of it is airbrush that I did. Some of it I painted with acrylic, and then Tracy painted on top of it too. And it's kind of, in order to know that, you have to know her style and then my style. Like these paintings over here, this is all me, and then her stuff, she's got tons of it, but it's not behind me right here.
I can
so-
see my style.
Yeah.
I can see his style.
Sure.
But
So
somebody else,
what happens when like people come over to the house and they see this art on the wall? Do they like, freak out? Like,
Is to know what they think. Nobody speaks.
it's funny. Like,
uh-oh.
and it's
Yes.
Nobody-
Sometimes the silence is louder than words, They're like, uh-oh, I need to get out of here.
I know, right?
Those are our neighbors with like, the things with the teeth on the walls. Yeah. Kids, just
Yeah.
stay away from them. Yeah.
the neighbors,
So-
they definitely see the paint stuff because I have to airbrush outside.
Mhm.
I don't have a spray booth, and that stuff is like, it's crazy toxic. So I'm out there in the driveway with the respirator and all this paint and a fan pointing to the street. Yeah.
And do you get any pushback from the community? Like, do you have?
No. No, but I did
No.
order a new respirator, and it's coming. It's like a full hood, like a hazmat, and I'm sure that that's gonna be.
You're gonna be out in your driveway in a hazmat suit, and people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is he doing over there?"
Exactly.
Wow.
I mean, I'm courteous about it. When people are walking down the sidewalk, like I'll stop spraying and wait for them to go by and stuff. And that's fine. But I don't know. I don't like it when I'm out there painting and people want to come up and try to talk to me, and I'm wearing a respirator, and you know,
And it's like, hey, yeah, that's right. I can't really talk to you right now
yeah,
because
exactly.
I'm
I mean,
not.
paint is drying, and you know, I'm in the zone. I'm trying to like work on my stuff, and they're just breaking my
Yeah.
concentration.
Yeah, but you're out in the street, so you're fair game. Like,
Yeah, I don't really have a choice.
yeah. So tell me, do you guys do art full time or do you have other jobs?
This is what we're doing full time right now.
And I was actually working 20 plus years, and they laid me
Yeah.
off, and that's a long story for another day. But
it was
Can you
because of COVID. So
Can you tell us what you were doing for 20 years?
20 years I was customer service. I mean, I did my job well. I mean, I was well known in the community, well loved, respected, and I mean, I knew people. I was loved in the community, and they laid me off. Man, I tell you, I feel some kind of way. But I've applied for, what's that?
So what was that like? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What was that like? You know, if you're doing a customer service job, is not, you know, really expressing your creativity is like when you're painting. So what was that balance like? Like, did you find like after, you know, so many hours a week, do you have to come home and paint to sort of like get that out of the system?
not really.
No, because I paint it every day. I mean, it's art for me. It is who I am. That's me. I'm an artist.
Right. So the job that you had was basically supporting you so that you could do your art.
I looked at it like art.
So I know what you're getting at.
What's he getting at?
Well, not to all in our finances and stuff, but I mean, we've had to do a shift from that. Like that was helping to pay bills and everything, and definitely with losing that with COVID, you know, it definitely sucks. So we're working on doing, you know, like we do commissions and things like that, and doing what we can to make it work.
I guess I'm always just interested, and I ask artists these questions because I always feel like it's mostly artists watching these videos, you know, once we post them.
That's the only reason I'm talking about it, because like normally I wouldn't, you know, want to talk about my finances at all, like to be honest, but sure. I get it. Like, I understand, and I want, you know, people who are doing it to, like, I totally, I know where they're coming. It's not like we have, you know, this surplus of money that like, well, we can just do our thing. Like we spent years, like I used to teach, and we spent a number of years just saving up the money to get our first vinyl toy done so that we could do that. And like my job got crazy to a point where I just couldn't be there anymore, and I ended up quitting it, and I've just been doing this full time. So
what were you teaching?
I was teaching art. Yeah.
But was that a creative outlet too, or was that just kind of like?
Oh yeah, it was a creative outlet in a different kind of way. Like I wasn't doing sculpting and stuff, and it was at a school for disabled adults, and so there's a whole nother realm, you know, and different type of artwork. But I got to work with, you know, talented people, and then I got to help run the gallery and, you know, set that up. So I got some different. On my phone. So I got exposed to some different types of, you know, working in a gallery and that kind of thing. It was definitely better than any of the restaurant jobs that I've had. Like those jobs, you're just working for somebody else. You got nothing to show for it. And we're trying to get away from all of that. And it's really hard because you got to pay bills, you got rent and bills. And to be honest, the toy stuff, it just kind of got to have something else unless you have money. I mean, that's most of the toy people that I know, they have, you know, they work at Trader Joe's, or they work in some tech job or some other kind of job, or tattooing, you know, some other kind of job that brings in the money to pay the rent and bills. And then the toys is paying enough money to make more toys,
Sure.
you know, and at some point, if it blows up enough, then they're able to, you know, kind of transfer over to that completely. During COVID, we kind of got forced into doing that. I mean, we're trying to do it, but you know, it's still like we're having to do other stuff.
Seems
You
sort of
know.
like a blessing in disguise, though. Most artists I
Yeah.
know, it takes a really long time before they can make that jump. And
We've been doing this for a long time, so
so,
I feel like, and it's not where I need it to be, like at all.
but
So
it does sound like you're on your way because,
feels
you
like
know.
that, and that's what we want, you know. So that's what we're pushing for. Definitely putting it out there. So yeah.
Well, it's definitely an inspiring story, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time and letting us into your life a little bit. It's, you know, congratulations and keep up the good work. And we're all pulling for you. And thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. I hope that helps. Hopefully, you know, people can get something out of it.
I think all of, you know, especially for other artists, like really hearing the dirt, you know, about relationships and the money. Like no one's asking specific money questions, but you know, people want to know, like, how do you survive? And I think, you know,
It's a struggle.
it goes both ways. Like the artists that I know that have a job, whether it's creative or not, can't wait to like quit their job and be on their own. And then the people who are on their own, you know, it's like the grass is always greener. They're thinking about the days where they used to have health insurance.
Right.
And they used to be able to have a
Or
weekend where they could relax and not have to answer people's emails and be able to tune out. And that's hard when you're working for yourself.
When you work for yourself, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's constantly working on it, constantly trying to refine it or fix problems or whatever. But it's, you know, you're doing what we do. So yeah.
So before we go, I'm just going to show everybody this one figure because it was just so fucking unbelievable.
That one.
And this was the figure from the 1920s show, silver screen show at Designer Con last year. And you made this openable, and this figure was just, I don't know. What the fuck was that, man? Can't wait to show,
story about that?
Can't wait to show that one to your neighbors.
Yeah.
Look at that. The paint job, the sculpt, everything, and the card, it's just the packaging, it's such a home run. Like I'll tell you, like I'm normally only buying stuff with Star Wars references or Simpsons references. And if I pick one out for myself and, you know, put it in my box to keep one, it's because it's like fucking exquisite. And this thing is just, all right. Funny story, go.
Okay, funny story about that is I actually don't have one for myself. I have the materials to make one for myself, but Tracy was a little freaked out about it. It was kind of a little too demon-y and she wanted it out of the house. So I was like trying to like get them made as fast as I could. And yeah.
Wait, hold on a second.
So
Hold
I'm
on.
gonna try to make
Wait,
it for myself.
Tracy, what? Too demon-y? Have you looked at your Have you looked at your artwork? What? What?
No. I was going through something. I'm going through something.
Got it.
That's all I gotta say.
All right. Well, look, you know, it's like,
I'm going through something.
and that's fine. I mean, but I'll tell you something that the people in life that I know who embrace the shadow, right, and who recognize that it exists in all of us, I think are healthier people, right? Something my wife taught me, right? Because sometimes like it's just the two of us, and then she'll just say some nasty shit that'll come out like, and I just look at her, I'm like, oh, you said that? Oh no, right? And it's like, and then you sort of like acknowledge it, like, oh, that's the shadow, and that's coming out, and I think that makes you a better person when you acknowledge it for what it is, rather than the people I know who like push it down and then it sort of rears its ugly head in other ways.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, I like
So-
to think of this like is a form of
I like that.
transmutation with our
Mhm.
stuff. You know, it's not all scary monsters and stuff, but I mean,
But
We do like-
mostly.
it's
All
helping
right,
us out.
guys. We gotta
right.
go. Thank you so much. Really
Okay,
great.
thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
All right,
Talk to you soon.
all right,
Thanks so much.
yep.
That's cool.
That was awesome.